Okay, so the next color that we're going to do in this round of our 4-color recipe with our Mia set is this olive green here. So this has a much more gray undertone here. So the greens, there are a lot of greens that we can make with this collection, and we're trying to take you through all the different possibilities with this set. And this olive green sometimes can look a little bit like a brown. In some lights it will look a little bit like a green, and you can always tweak it to your preferences. So when we start, we are going to start with 12 to 15 mils. And I say 12 to 15 mils because depending on if you want to add more pigments versus liquid concentrates, you'll want to give yourself a little bit more room to add the pigments. They do take up more space in your base, and they affect the suspension of your color. So because there are browns that will be mixed with this green, I am going to use, and this has sort of a purple tint, the 0244, but there's also some browns in here too, and I'm going to use that in this just a little bit to give us a great starting point. And I'm also going to use a half a scoop of the 077, which is our hunter green. So I'm going to do half a scoop of this. You can see in different lights it looks a little more purple, and sometimes it looks a little bit more brown, and you can bring out those different shades when you start mixing your liquid concentrates with them. So half a scoop of each of those. And again, you want to make sure that you are documenting your recipes as you go. So I'm just going to write this down. 0244, we did a half a scoop, and then the 077, we did a half a scoop. My preference is always to add a finish to it. I feel like that is a look that I really like, but it also affects the staying power of your polish. They do tend to wear a little longer on natural nails. You can see that gave us a really beautiful base or tint to start with. And then because this olive green is more on the olive side, that means that we are going to have a little bit more of the yellow undertones than the blue in this particular green. So when we are doing our ratios of blue to green, I am going to add more yellow and less blue. So I'm going to start with my blue, and I'm only going to do 1 drop. I'm going to mix that so you can see it, and then compare it to the tinted base that we did with our pigments. And you can see a little bit, this 1 drop went a long way. So it definitely looks more blue there. So, but when I add our yellow, you're going to be able to immediately see that that changed to the opposite direction for the green. And my ratio, I believe, is going to be 1 to 3 because I have made similar colors to this before. So that's where I'm going to start. If you're not too familiar with color mixing, or you haven't done this before, or your comfort level just isn't there, you can just start one at a time. And we do recommend that, especially if you're just starting. You can see that is a perfect olive green. That's almost exactly where I want it to be, except for the fact that I do want it to be more opaque, and I would like it to be a little less green and a little bit more gray. And so how I achieve that is with combinations of black and white. So I'm going to add 1 drop of each, and I'm going to swatch it in between each of the drops. So first I'm going to add black. So there's my black, and I'm gonna document my recipe too. So I just added 1 drop of black, and then I have on here my ratio of 1 to 4 with my yellow and blue. Okay, so let's give that a stir. Okay, so you can see that did take it darker. And that's definitely moving in the direction that I want. So I'm going to add a drop of white. Again, I'm also not only looking at the shade, I'm also looking at the opacity or the translucency of this. So it's a very subtle change there. This is exactly moving in the direction that I want. So I'm gonna add 1 more drop of white. And if this gets me to the color that I want, then in order to affect the opacity, I would double the colors in here, and I definitely have the space for that with keeping within our limits for how much we can add. The limits for how much we can add are a maximum of 3 scoops of pigments. You can measure them in half scoops or full scoops, but your total is 3. And then you can go up to anywhere between 30, 40 drops of liquid concentrates. And so staying within those parameters, you can really adjust the colors to get the shade that you want, but also the finish and the opacity you want. So I think that I am super close there. I'm gonna add 1 more drop of white and then swatch it again. I'm just gonna refer back to my green here. I am very close. It looks like I am going to need, I'm gonna repeat the 1 drop of black and the 3 drops of white. So 1 of the black and 3 of the white. And that's exactly the color I was looking for. That's perfect. I could even lighten it by 1 more drop of white, but I don't think that that's necessary. I think with 1 coat, I would get the green shade that I wanted. But I can still see just a tiny bit of the black in here, so I am going to repeat all the colors that I added, and I'm gonna double them. So that means I am going to add another half scoop of our 244 pigment, 0244, and another scoop of our, or excuse me, half a scoop of our 244 and half a scoop of our 077. Okay, and then we have 1 of our blue. Four of our yellow. Two of our black. And 4 of our white. And I think we're gonna be close to being done with that. Okay, so let's give it a mix. Again, if you're not comfortable with this, you're unsure, you don't want to make a mistake, it's better to add each one a little bit as you go. It's easier to correct when you do that in case you make a mistake. You can always add it, but you can't take it back out. And so where that comes into play is if you're reaching the limits of your maximums that you can add. But this is looking exactly like the color I wanted. So I could continue to lighten this, I could darken this, I could make this more, even more with a yellow undertone on it. Several things that I could do. I could also bring in a little bit of a brown. And I could do that with our brick liquid concentrate that's in there. So that's another option that you have if you're wanting it to be a little bit more of a warmer color. But for now, I think that I am ready to bottle this. So again, we put our bottle right into the center of our circle and our mat here. We fill the funnel up 3/4 of the way full and let that all drip down into the bottle. And then we do that another time, 3/4 of the way full. And again, when you're mixing your colors, you want to make sure that everything is thoroughly mixed before you bottle it. And the reason why you want to do that is because once it's in the bottle, it is extremely difficult, if not impossible, to get things to mix, no matter how hard you shake it. So this tool is specifically designed with the different crevices in here and the different crevices in the cup and the points on the bamboo stir stick to be able to get into the areas that ingredients might fall into so that you can get all of your pigments and colors thoroughly mixed. So I filled that too far. I would have overflown if I wasn't paying attention. And I just want to make sure that I'm filling it just above this. I don't want to fill it up to the neck. And if that happens, just quickly move it over. Usually the momentum of doing it quickly, you can avoid drips that way. I'll cap it. And this is my really olive green here. Okay, so stay tuned for other colors in this collection.